Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we actually do this? What
Mhm.
are some of the lowest points of your life, if you don't mind sharing? And then,
Sure.
and then what is the wisdom that you have earned throughout? And use the hero's journey as a way to illustrate what you were referring to. I think that would be really, really helpful.
Yeah. So I would say one of the hardest points in my life was my first year of college. My first year of college, I went to a business school in Dallas, Texas, and I realized really quickly it was a very big Greek school, and it was probably the point where I was like the most depressed in my life because I had given up on anything artistic and I was just going to do business, right? So in that sense, that would be the low point, right? And the low point of the story, just for anybody who's listening can relate to it, the low point is like the dark night of the soul, right? It's all hope is lost. This is the part, if you're writing a story or you're writing yourself as the hero in this story, this is the part where like you're broken, right? Like this should be the hardest, the point of most suffering. And so what happens as a result of that low point is that the hero, it forces the hero to take a really critical look at what has put them in this situation, right? How have they been being up to this point that has them in all this suffering to begin with? And then it begins what's called the apostasis. And the apostasis is when the hero dies a physical death to be reborn in spirit, right? So if I'm relating it to my story, I went through this Greek hazing and all this stuff. And like, I just realized like this was going to be the rest of my life, was giving up on anything creative. That was really the thing that did it the most for me. And so I had to take the critical lens, like to look at myself to say, what had me in this position to begin with? And then I actually ended up transferring school, right? And so I killed off a physical version of Logan Stone as this frat boy, college kid, partier, right? Killed off that version of Logan Stone. I was really good at playing that version, but that version had to die in order for me to take a step and go move. I literally moved across the country to Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, and started taking film school classes downtown Chicago. And so I was reborn in spirit. I had this new invigoration. I had a complete change of scenery. But I completely shed that old skin. The old Logan completely done. So does that kind of point to what you're?
Yeah, for sure. And what would you say is the wisdom that you earned from going through that apoptosis process that you've gone through?
Yeah, I would say the wisdom I earned was really. So I remember watching a speech by Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey says, he talks about watching his dad. His dad was the funniest person he knew. And he said that he gave up on his dreams of being a comedian to sell insurance to provide for his family. And he eventually got fired. His dad got fired from that job. And the takeaway, I think this was a commencement speech that Jim Carrey was giving. The takeaway of the commencement speech was, you can get fired for doing stuff that you hate. You might as well do something that you love. And so I literally watched that video. I remember watching that video in my dorm room to this day. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, well, that's a good point. I'm not enrolled in what I'm up to right now. So something's got to give. And that identity as frat boy Logan was killed in that moment.
And I asked that question because when that mindset gets shifted, the action to transfer became a lot easier, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Before that mindset shift, transfer, the thought of letting the old Logan die and then creating a new life by transferring, it's a Herculean task.